Hello, everybody. Welcome to a podcast I've organized to discuss the critical question of is Toaru Has Gay? The rumor come out? I'm your host, Sophie Laudia, and joining me today we have my friend LoboTheGhost.
Hello.
Level Zero Lexi.
I
Famed Toaru podcaster. And FishEradicator Audrey.
Hey,
Hello.
how's it going?
Good. Glad you could all be here. But yeah, this is something I've wanted to do for a while. I don't do enough podcasts, and I'll do more of them again. But yeah, this is a topic that I think is relevant to all of us, as you know, we are all queer fans of the Toaru series. And the question, and the question,
Sorry. Just to clarify, is that we are queer and fans, or we are fans of the queer? Or both?
I'll leave that for you to decide. But yeah, I guess like to get started, we should probably like introduce ourselves to anybody who doesn't know who we are and how we relate to the queer spectrum. So, starting with myself, I'm Sophie Laudia. I am non-binary, and yeah, basically, that's kind of it. Lobo, how about you introduce yourself?
I am LoboTheGhost. I am a ghost VTuber, and I am also non-binary.
And Lexi?
yeah, I make content sometimes. I'm non-binary, pansexual on the A spectrum, sort of. I don't know. It's complicated. Queer, whatever.
It's an umbrella term. That's why it's great.
Yep.
Yep.
And Fish-Eradicator Audrey.
I'm pretty much no one, but I'm a trans woman, I'm a lesbian, and I like to write sometimes. That's pretty much it.
Hell yeah. Let's get a quick shout out for your channel, Lexi. What's your YouTube ID again?
I don't. Hold on. What the fuck is it? I genuinely. It's just Level Zero Lexi.
Just Level Zero Lexi?
Yeah.
All right. So check out Level Zero Lexi on YouTube for some fun Toaru content. When's the OT3 podcast happening, Lexi?
I'm almost done with it.
Yay.
I've been working on it for half a year or something. We also came up with some ways of making the process of actually getting them out a lot faster.
Oh yeah.
So new year is probably gonna have a fair bit of more, podcast content than the last one. So
Excellent. So
I
yeah,
think that's great to hear.
yeah, I'm excited. So yeah, this is obviously a very big question, and it has a lot of like, it's not a simple question to answer because like you look at the Toaru series and it's not really like this shining beacon of queer fiction. It's like very much written by a straight cis Japanese dude, and it's very like written with that male gaze in mind. Most of the fan service is very oriented at straight men. It's all like, oh, look at these women in compromised positions, how lewd, how sexy. We have such like literary masterworks as let's chat about a cheeky pair of boobs, which I believe was like how he started one of his chapters.
Wow.
It's clearly high fiction. But like in spite of that, I feel like there is this sort of like magnetism about this series that kind of like draws queer people in. And I'm not going to claim that's sort of intentional on Kamachi's part, but like it feels like he's tapped into something. Like as a writer, he's like, been digging through the minds of literary tropes for years and like just kind of accidentally stumbled upon this vein of like queer themes that like really appeals to queer people. That's kind of my take on it, the whole general situation.
Mhm.
But I thought, like, you know, to kind of like get this discussion moving, we should like start from the top and work down. Let's start at the surface level, and like, you know, because a lot of people are going to say that like there's no queer content in Toaru. What are you doing? This is for the heads. And at the very least, I want to start at the very surface level of stuff in Toaru that is objectively queer. And the most obvious example of that is Kuroko. The
Railgun episode 1.
Railgun episode 1. Even like Index, like she appears very early. I think like at the end of the Index arc, she makes her first appearance. At least in the anime. I don't know. Is that in the light novel? I can't remember.
In the light novel, it's the sisters arc. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. She was like getting an early appearance in the anime.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Kuroko. This sure is a character. I have so many mixed feelings about this character. Here, let's get this gif of her banging her head against the desk. Obviously, like, the elephant in the room is, like, she's very much the predator lesbian trope, which is kind of a thing in a lot of anime, a lot of older anime especially. This idea of, like, it's a very, like, outdated idea of lesbians just being like, oh, let's just put all the horny desires of like the stereotypical straight man in a girl, so like she can be as loose as she wants, but it's more okay for her to do it because she's a girl and not a guy. It's just kind
Well,
of I don't know, it's a bit of a shitty
I
trope.
want to elaborate a bit on that trope for a second because I think there's an interesting thing to think about with it. And it's that it isn't just about it being like exactly what you're saying. It is that. But the other aspect is the fact that the target of that affection is also a girl. And I think that you can see it from like there's sort of a self-insert thing going on with men that it's targeted at from both sides of that relationship, or what it, relationship's the wrong word, the thing happening on screen that isn't good.
Yeah, like did Lexi or Audrey, did you want to like add anything to that side of things?
I mean, yeah, that's the thing. I think I have my conclusion about Kuroko, and I don't want to reveal that just yet because we're just getting started. But I basically agree with everything that's been said. So yeah.
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 I mean, like,
Yeah. At the same time. Oh.
yeah, I mean, like, we got to like look at this from many angles because she is a consistent character in the Toaru universe. She might have been introduced as a bit of a joke. I do think like there wasn't a lot of thought given to her character when she's first implemented, and definitely like the whole like trope of her like, you know, trying to grope Mikoto and like her getting electrocuted. It's very overdone. I guess the idea is it's the fucking like bonk on the head, stop being horny kind of humor that I just get really tired of after a while. But we do see like a multifaceted character in Kuroko because we've like spent so much time with her. Like, she very clearly cares about Mikoto a lot. It almost feels like sometimes that the horny persona is like wielded as a mask in a way. Like, you know, Umineko fans will be familiar with Battler Ushiromiya, who does a very similar thing. You know, I'm not saying that justifies the trope necessarily, but the intention there is like horniness for the sake of goofiness. I don't think Kuroko is a rapist. Like, I don't see it that way. Maybe like sometimes it's a bit questionable, and I still think it's like not the best representation of lesbians or anything, but I don't think she's written to be like a genuine predator. She is written to be a goofball that uses like her sexuality to like disarm people. It's her way of like trying to like get in Mikoto's like good side in a weird way. It's like, yes.
I agree that's the intent.
Sure.
I agree that is what Kamachi intended to put on the screen and not necessarily what we got on the screen.
Yeah.
I'd have to say on that, like, I feel like it could, and I don't know if I think this yes, I agree she was introduced as a joke, but the fact that Kamachi, from what I understand, was originally thinking of having a Kuroko spin-off instead of a Misaka one.
Yeah, she
Just
was originally
tells-
going to
tell-
be. She was originally going to be the railgun protagonist. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just leads me to think about, like, obviously he figured that he had a gold mine there,
Mm.
and the Remnant arc is like really good
Yeah.
with Kuroko, and like she is. It's not like this is all there is. Like she's consistently written as like horrible about this type of thing,
Mm.
but also there's those moments when you see that genuine affection and stuff like that, and it just kind of gives off the impression that she's like an awkward like teenager,
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
much, and she doesn't know how to convey that properly,
Yeah.
and that's why she's acting the way she is. So that's kind of I understand that's a
Yeah.
generous rating,
Sure.
but I think it is valid anyway.
Sure. I agree. I agree. I think both readings are valid, and I think, you know, we can absolutely adopt a, you know, queer theory lens to this and be like, this is pretty bad. But, you know, on the other hand, this does, like, there is like a certain is a certain realism when you look at it through that lens of like, she's just fucking awkward. She's like trying to disguise her like feelings through like, you know, irony and just a bit too like edgy sexuality. just pushing her feelings a bit too far into the absurd, knowing she's gonna get pushed back. And I do think that's an important distinction too, because like when Mikoto doesn't push back, she knows that something's wrong. She's like, oh shit, like this isn't the time to be messing around. Something's genuinely wrong. There's been a few moments like that in the series. So I do think there is this like, you know, complex inner world of Kuroko. She's not just a trope. Even though the trope sucks, there is more to her character. And I actually do like her as a protagonist. I think like, you know, when she's actually like playing the hero role, because she has been the protagonist of like multiple books now in the Index series, and of course like mini stories within Railgun. She's a fucking badass. Like she's awesome. And yeah, but you know, so all right, this is our first like major representation, most well-known representation of any sort of like, you know, queer identity in Toaru. She's the biggest, and it's not a great look. But it's something.
Yeah, can I just want to say one more thing about her
before we move off her. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, it's that as much as that trope kind of sucks, I have to say I do actually find it funny with her specifically, and I think that is exactly because there is more to her character than just that trope.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah, fair
so
enough.
that's where, you know. But I like dumb humor anyway, so this kind of. but like it is way easier for me to enjoy that, knowing that she is an actual character beyond it.
It's messy representation, but it isn't entirely bad. I think we can agree on.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it's fine. I just personally think as well, a couple things. One, with what Kamachi's doing in specifically the newest like Railgun chapters, with trying to incorporate the whole current story with Kuroko's introduction to Mikoto, and how she hasn't shown any of that to her yet. I'm genuinely wondering if the whole roommate switch thing and her acting the way that she acts is going to lead to some big reveal that she isn't really like this, and that it's just all going to go away at some point.
I highly doubt it, because it's kind of...
I doubt it too, but I think it's something interesting to think about.
I think it's an important aspect is I love when Kuroko is a protagonist. And I kind of hate when she's being gay. And honestly, they're two different characters.
Yeah.
It almost feels like it's just like no. It's you have the cool and interesting Kuroko, and then you have the One-sama, and it's like, oh no, please stop.
Yeah. You see a similar thing happen with like Index, the character. It's like there's the really cool Index, and there's the Toba, I'm fucking hungry Index. The trope versus the actual person. Yeah, it's
a problem.
It could be handled better, is what I would say. Not to say that people can't be multifaceted and have different sides and different masks and stuff. I just think it can be really better. That's probably what I'll say. But just before we jump the gun a bit too much, I just want to address the topic of Kuroko's identity. Is she a lesbian? And
Oh Christ.
there is some like discussion about this. There are some
It is a
people
question.
that love to ship Kuroko with Toma. We do have to address that elephant in the room.
The thing people point to is the Remnant arc, and
Yeah.
I read that novel like fairly recently, and I feel like that's just like the adaptations doing that, if anything.
Okay. Yep. Fair enough.
And also there's the fucking Toaru If thing, like the wedding picture, which is like that does not help. But that was meant as a joke.
Yeah.
And I feel like every time Kamachi's even like referenced it, it's always been meant as a joke.
Yeah.
One of the only other times I can even remember her interacting with him physically, besides the Remnant arc, is in OT6 when they're in the Underground Mall.
Yeah. They don't have a lot, but like there are a few scenes in the story where like Kuroko references Toma as like kind of like an ideal, like someone that she like respects. As like a literally a platonic ideal of a hero. And I think that's valid, but like you don't have to make that a romantic thing, right? Like
Absolutely.
That's where we're
Yeah.
jumping the gun a bit, and like sure, people can ship whatever they want, but like personally, my reading of the story, I don't think there's a straight bone in Kuroko's body. Like she is
It's kind of like
very lesbian. She hasn't really showed any interest in men except for like that.
thing about it even is that like it. Yeah, people can ship whatever they want, but the fact that they turned the one most obviously gay character in the series into a straight woman, or like they have to force the one gay character
to be straight.
to be straight. It doesn't matter if she's written well or not. The fact that people want to do that is like messed up in my opinion.
I do agree. It's a bit yikes. Like you've got so many other characters you could ship, and like that's the one you picked, huh? It just feels a little bit hostile to, people that look to this as like representation. So yeah, it's a thing. Not going to dwell on it too much, but yeah, I think we're all in agreement here that Kuroko is probably the most explicitly gay character in all of Toaru.
At least out of the main cast, yeah.
Yeah. But there are other characters, and I did want to bring some of them up. One of them is Seike Taramaru, who is a member of Scavenger. This one's a little bit ambiguous, and there's always going to be debate about this kind of thing because the way that gender is written in Japanese fiction, especially Japanese fiction by straight men, is a little bit weird sometimes. But at the very least, Seike is a gender non-conforming character. On some level. They seem to identify as male, but they wear women's clothes. This would fall into the trope of what many might call otakonato, and that's got a whole history behind it. But at the very least, like, this is a character that openly is rebelling against gender norms in a way, and that's queer in my book. You can call him trans, you can call him a femboy. I don't think it matters. I think this character, he or she, I like, pronouns obviously don't really exist in the same way in Japanese, so we can't really apply pronouns. I use he. I think that's like a valid interpretation, but like, I think regardless of how you refer to this character, I think they are gender non-conforming, and I think that counts as queer.
I agree. And I think one of the things that I would point to towards maybe being like a little bit tinfoil hat, but the fact that he or she is in a group full of girls and they're just totally accepting of them, that kind of just says to me, like, look, if you go into like real life and it's like you have a dude who just dresses up like a girl because it's not a trans thing at all, and they just have a bunch of female friends that are all just with them, that's stranger than it's a trans girl. That's the stranger. So that's what makes me go, I think that the valid interpretation is they're a trans character. I think that is at least how I view them, because in a series as large as the Index series and as popular as it is so hard to put like upfront queer characters in there where it's just, no, this is exactly what they are. Like, I'm reminded of, I still need to finish watching it, but Skip and Loafer just has like one of the best examples of a trans character I've seen in forever. And like, anime is progressing in that direction, but that's still just like a cute rom-com anime. It's not something that's like selling millions and millions of copies like Index is, right? So you kind of have to be like, don't say they're trans, because then suddenly we're gonna have a bunch of haters, and it's like, okay, we can't call them trans then.
And like,
that's where I think the
don't forget, you got all
labels-
the publishers involved in the production of the books and the anime and the manga. I know Square Enix is involved in there somewhere, like, and they're pretty notorious about censoring gay shit in their works. So yeah, like, I can totally see this as just being like, well, let's include a queer character without, like, you know, getting into the weeds about their identity and like, like making some sort of like statement that might be objectionable to some publisher. Yeah,
I kind of wonder how Sony's gonna, because Sony's gonna own Kadokawa, right? Or owns Kadokawa.
Oh.
I wonder if things are gonna change at all. Just as a side note.
Probably not.
The Sony thing.
Yeah, probably
the
not.
Sony thing actually didn't go through.
Oh, it didn't? Oh, okay.
Well, no. Instead, what Sony did is buy out 10% of the total stock worth of Kadokawa, so that they're like the biggest investor and have a lot of sway.
Okay, that's still actually Sony sucks. So like that's better than what could have
It's a lot
happened,
better,
I
I'd
suppose.
say.
Yeah.
Let's put Seike in the corner here. And so another character that is fairly recent in the story, and doesn't have a character design, so I can't put them on screen, is Hanatsuyu Kuchikusa. This is a character that showed up in Toaru Ambuno Item Volume 2, and they are trans with an asterisk. And I'm just gonna read the fucking paragraph. I think that's the best way to like communicate exactly what's going on here. If I still have it, here it is. Basically, this character comes in to Item's hideout to help dispose of a corpse using like weird fucked up bug science. They are a mad scientist whose specialty is bugs. And so this comment comes up. They're like, one of the girls said, "Is a mother supporting her kids afraid of nothing?" And Kuchikusa says, "Oh, did I say anything about being their mama? As a girl yourself, would you have chosen that skimpy knit dress? There are certain parasites and specific endocrine disruptors that can remove a human's male reproductive abilities and make them female. Just kidding. Whether I'm those girls' papa or mama, and whether I supplied the sperm or the egg will remain a secret, because that kind of mystery is great for increasing your perceived value." This is a trans character, but it's very weird about it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, with this specific character, it just makes me think like, what the hell was Kamachi like thinking while writing this? Like,
Yeah.
How did he get this idea?
Yeah, so basically, supposedly the character like changed their gender using parasites and endocrine disruptors. Weird. And obviously this is the parent of two of the most infamous characters in the Toaru series. But fuck it. Trans character in Toaru. I fucking take whatever slop I can get at this point.
Yeah, I mean, their short appearance was like they seemed a lot more, how would I say it, likable than their kids did.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, and I did forget like the next line after specifically says, "Item didn't particularly care one way or the other, but it did sound like just like Darkseid to turn science into that level into a toy." Yeah, like I love the implication there that Item doesn't care like about your gender. Like that's kind of cool.
It's also because like that they could just be lying too. Like that could just be like total BS. Like it's kind of vague if it is or isn't.
Yeah,
so,
it's like, oh, I'll never tell. But obviously, like,
really, yeah,
eh,
strange.
it's strange. This is the kind of scraps we have to fight for in this fucking fandom.
For real.
Yeah.
But fuck it.
This is the stuff that's like relatively confirmable. The stuff that I assume we're gonna get into later is gonna be the ooh.
Yeah.
You can see it maybe that way.
We'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
Another
Yeah.
example that I forgot about was the members of Other Item in Toaru Item Volume 1. Lexi, you brought this up with me. You said that they're confirmed lesbians? I forgot about that.
Okay, I can read out the
Yes,
quote.
perfect.
Hanayama Kamitsu, the tanned girl with wavy shoulder-length black hair and a track athlete's tank top and shorts, made no attempt to join the other three. She thought these things were nice to look at, but she had no desire to be part of it herself. In her opinion, lesbian relationships were beautiful enough when things were going well, but they got nasty quick when things went bad.
Yeah, I remember that now. Which is quite a comment.
So what's the implication there?
The other three, or whatever, I think it's 4 members as well, so the other 3 are lesbians. And,
Okay.
Basically complaining about the dramas of lesbian relationships that go bad.
I mean, that's kind of a stereotype I hear often, but
Yeah.
like I don't know if that's problematic like representation or not, or if it's like I don't know.
It's like, again, not the best representation. And I guess the other big one that we have to talk about is motherfucking Aleister Crowley. This fucker. I know this is like, some people are like not gonna read it this way, but this motherfucker is queer. He's very queer. He's a problematic queer. Let's not be.
Yeah.
Let's not.
Oh,
like,
definitely.
He is more definitely gay than Kuroko.
Yeah.
That is for certain.
This guy is fucking gay. He's fucking trans, genderqueer, and like, even the historical.
Just everything.
The historical Crowley was notable for being all these things as well. But yeah, he's also like a fucking. Would you call him a war criminal, or like just fucking? He's done a lot of horror.
Also,
I mean, child abuser.
Yeah.
I think, and all kinds of like horrible things. So
alleged child abuser. Yeah, I mean, he's killed a bunch of people. Yeah, he's a pretty fucked up dude. But the story like it doesn't mince words about that. We're not meant to think of him as like a morally upstanding character, or even like the funny kind of like pervert that Kuroko is. Then again, no, I can't say that.
he does have the moment.
There is that one moment.
Spoilers.
Yeah, there is that one moment with Toma. I wish I could erase that from my memory.
that was so weird.
Actually, this is even a question. What are Aleister's pronouns currently?
I think she, her.
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't know.
Because they are a girl now.
Yeah, but
I mean,
what happened?
probably any all pronouns. Like,
Any all, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All, specifically all at once.
All pronouns, yeah, pretty much. I don't think like him being a girl isn't like. I don't think he makes enough of a big deal of it to be like a joke. I think he's very comfortable being a girl. And like, especially in like the most recent books, like where he's like really settled into a permanent female form, and he's totally okay with it. Like he's not in any rush to get a male body back. I think it's neat. I think he's a genderqueer character.
There's one thing I would like to like, because I don't know, this fucking I'm looking at the male-esque photo,
we got the photo here.
That's why. But anyway, they said recently that like they were getting tired of being a female, but oh well, like in relation to the new body.
Okay.
Yes, I believe that. I remember that distinctly. I was like, that's a gender fluid queen whatever. Like, that was my
Just
that was my thought.
Yeah, it's just like fucking like wearing on clothes. Like I'm tired of this gender now. Let's try something different.
Exactly.
Like, there wasn't any real strategic advantage to becoming a girl. It just kind of happened, and he was cool with it. Yeah, I don't know. I say what you will about Crowley. He's the most morally grey character, like the greyest of greys. I don't know what you would call that, but fucking, he is probably one of the most like realistic depictions of a queer character in the story so far. That's something to like.
And it's an omnipresent character in the story.
Yeah.
Like,
Incredibly important character. The whole story basically revolves around this person.
yeah, he's the linchpin,
Yeah.
essentially. Like, there would be no Academy City, there would be no magic side or science side without him.
So yeah, these are like pretty much it that I could come up with for explicitly queer characters in Toaru. There are other characters though that we get into that let's say that Kamachi doesn't want to confirm one way or another if they're queer or not, but the vibes can definitely be seen if you're looking for them. So
Yeah.
and
by the way, I have a gift for you for this topic. Check your DMs. I made sure to send it as a GIF.
Lobo. All right.
You know we're going to talk about that in a moment.
Fuck.
I feel like that's like the number one character with this being the topic, right?
I wouldn't say
actually have
number
something.
one.
Okay,
I have
maybe not
something to
number one.
submit, by the way.
All right, everyone, send your DMs.
Put gifts on the board.
Do,
It's not-
Oh,
I-
get your gifts ready.
This is an image.
do I need a
It's an
gift
image, okay.
for my submission?
Sure, why not?
Oh shit. Okay, I'll try to find one. Fucking what's her name?
Anyway, I'm gonna start with the Shokuho click.
I just sent you something regarding that, actually.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
That's good. Download this shit. Chuck it on screen. Get on there. Yes,
I
we
think
are
one of
the
my
woke
friends
mob.
made. One of my friends. I think Axel maybe made it, but anyway, yeah.
That's really good.
That's great.
The Shokuho click. Lesbians, anyone? Like almost a polycool. Like it's pretty explicit, and I know that this is very tropey. This is like not an old thing. The whole like trope of like the all-girls school where all the girls end up becoming gay for each other. It's very tantalizing to the male gaze. I get all that. But it's not bad representation. I think the Shokuho clique is pretty positive representation of like lesbians. Like
Yeah.
you know, all the girls like really admire Shokuho a lot, and she like returns their admiration with like a lot of like dedication. You know, really like she really cares about her clique and making sure that everyone's, you know, healthy and happy and fulfilled. Like she really does care a lot about them, which like goes counter to the whole narrative of, oh, she's just brainwashing. No, she's just like, I could do a whole fucking podcast about the Shokuho clique, and I need to hold back. But yeah, Shoko is just genuinely like such a great person because she kind of has to be. She has to work so hard to earn people's trust because by default, people will suspect her of everything. So she needs to work much harder than the average person just to, you know, leave a good impression on people. And that basically organically invented this clique. Like it just kind of formed around her because she's such a good person.
Yeah. And like she has to try really hard to like keep her composure to like, cause she isn't like naturally that, I mean, she is strong, but she's not like invincible.
No.
Like emotionally, she has her weak points, and it's rough. And I specifically wanted to mention that I think Astral Body does such a great job of like exploring this through Junko, like the whole lesbian thing. Yeah. Because they bring it up pretty much directly in that. Yeah. And that's great.
Yeah. I think
They bring it up in
Junko
the first chapter.
Junko is extremely lesbian coded. Like
100%.
so much. it's never stated outright, but like I almost put her on the explicit queer characters, but I have to hold back because Kamachi doesn't want to confirm that. But fucking,
Yeah.
she's a lesbian.
I
She's
personally
a
think Junko as being pretty explicitly bisexual, mainly because she
You think so?
realized that as soon as like in Astral Body Chapter 1, like the moment she realizes that girls can be in love with girls the way that guys can be in love with girls and vice versa,
Hmm.
she immediately like has this like brain explosion moment where she's just unresponsive.
Yeah,
And I think
Her-
that probably stems from how she understands straight relationships to be.
but like I kind of saw that as her being. I mean, that's a valid reading, but the way I always read it was that she had been told that she needs to marry some like prince, like nice kind of rich guy by her rich family for her whole life, and she had never
considered the
really
option.
considered like what she actually wants for herself. And that's kind of how I mean, she could very well be bi, but like the way how I mean, the way like with the stuff with like Gunha, they both just feel so like Gunha feels ace and
Yeah.
she feels lesbian because they're like
Yeah.
some people suspect them of having a thing for each other and they're like they don't even like
A
recognize
boy and
that as
a boy and a
possibility.
girl like have a positive interaction on this show, and they're suddenly in love according to Simon. Like that's the fucking level we have to deal
Yeah,
with
but
sometimes.
even the other characters think that, and they're just like completely oblivious, which makes me think that, which makes it harder for me to buy that she's bi. But I'm not or anything. It's
I
just
pressed
like how I
I
feel
pressed a
about
forbidden button. Whoops! I didn't mean to do that.
Undefined.
it. What the fuck?
Ignore that. Continue.
Also, yeah, Sophie, I'm pretty sure the GIF that I sent is the only GIF of this character on fucking Discord.
It didn't have to be a gift, but thank you. Oh my gosh.
Hey, you said so I found it.
Oh, that character. I forgot about her.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Mhm.
All right.
Here's one that I think about a lot because of a couple chapters in Railgun.
All right. Does anyone want to keep talking about the Shoko click? I think it's pretty self-evident.
I can't speak on it because I haven't read.
Fair enough.
I just actually thought of another fucking character, but we can get to that later.
All right.
But, yeah.
Here is Audrey's character.
Alright, we're going straight with mine.
And I fucking forgot her name. Shit. What's her name again?
Ozukumi Tori.
Yeah, Kozakumi Tori. Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
This gif of her getting her ass kicked. Good.
Well, first off, just the way that Mitori and Dolly interact throughout Railgun, Astral Buddy, and a very slight amount of Mental Out, I think Dolly's done. I could be wrong. But there's one specific like side chapter, like 80-something.5 in Railgun, I think. It might have been in Astro Buddy actually, but there's
I think
there's like
Astro
a
Buddy,
point,
yeah.
It might have been Astro Buddy, but there's a 0.5 chapter where you see Mitori coming back home after like a day out, and having Dolly prepared, like making dinner for her, and it's a very idyllic relationship between two people that very obviously harbor very deep, very long-lasting emotions for each other, also living together and doing traditionally like lovey-dovey household duties with each other.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
they've been in so relatively little of the story, just because of the nature of who they are as characters. They're meant to be background. But the few times that we have seen them, I've felt at least that that they are most likely something deeper than just friendship. And I sometimes wonder whether Shokuho also fits into that, considering the ramifications of their relationship as like friends for, or inadvertent friends for years.
I mean, yeah, I definitely agree. At least Dolly and Mitori, yeah,
100%.
definitely.
100% agree.
Another one that's getting a lot of like discussion lately is Lobo's pick. Uiharu and Saten.
Fuck yeah.
Thanks
There's
for
the
the gift,
GIF.
Lobo.
If you look at the stream.
Oh my god.
I think that's the most gay one.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, this is like the kind of thing that's very like anime humor, like just kind of absurd shit that's a little bit perverted, and you can reasonably take the stance that it is not sexual or like romantic in nature. But there's been a lot of traction gaining for this relationship recently. If you look at stuff like the recent currently ongoing arc in Railgun, we're seeing like the first introduction between these two characters and how they seem to have a very like strong affinity for each other like very quickly. But more so, I think of the Jailbreaker, where like
Yes.
this whole arc really focuses on these two characters and like
That's why. Yeah.
pushes their relationship to the extreme, where like they are both like in a perilous situation trying to help each other and like seeing how they respond to this crisis, especially Uiharu. The reaction Uiharu has to knowing that Saten's life is in danger is visceral. It's fucking primal. It is not like a normal reaction for a friend to have. Like, it's very heavy emotions. This is the kind of shit that reminds me of like Homura from Madoka Magica. And there are people that still deny that Homura is gay. But like, but fuck.
That one. How?
Uiharu is literally like, I will destroy this fucking city to save you. Like, that's the level we're talking about here. And it's fucking badass. I don't know if it's reciprocal. Maybe. Like, I think there's arguments to be made that it is, but
I have some very strong proof that actually I have stronger proof for Saten being a lesbian than Uiharu, I think.
All right, go on.
First of all, liberal arts city. Let's not forget about that shit.
True.
There's a moment where Saten fantasizes about being rich, and in the fantasy, like, this is illustrated. She's fantasizing about having like women in like bunny girl suits surrounding her with cash.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And that's so gay. And also in the same one, when she's interacting with Xochitl, is that her name? The Aztec girl?
Yeah.
Like, she has to buy her a swimsuit as a disguise, and she just buys the most fucking like insane swimsuit of all time for that. And like that, those two's whole thing feels very gay too, actually.
Yeah,
but,
now that you mentioned it, yeah. I found the illustration. Here it goes. Check that out.
Yeah.
So good.
And there's another thing that I was thinking of with. Oh yeah, when Saten's interacting with Junko in Astral Body, she goes like, "Oh, a date with a high-class girl," and she's like super excited about it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. No, you're right.
So
they're both gay.
I read her. I read her as gay, definitely. Like, I think there's stronger proof for that. With Uiharu, it's like, okay, it's obviously because it's obvious that she's gay because she seems to really like Saten. With Saten, she's just like obviously gay for
just gay.
General reasons.
Yeah, just in general.
Also, we haven't talked about Saten's other pairing, which is the most problematic one to the story, which is Frenda.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's problematic because they'll have to bring Frenda back for that one.
But
I mean, the reaction Saten has when Frenda finally texts her, like, that's a whole gif on its own.
Yeah.
Saten's just like spinning in her bed, basically.
It's a gay little crush. It totally is.
Yeah.
God. Man. I never really thought about Saten as gay until this moment. Like, really gay.
What?
But now, like, I don't know.
Wow, okay.
I thought of her as gay as Kuroko or more.
I don't
Because
know.
Kuroko is like just a problem around Mikoto, but Saten is just like her vibe doesn't like Okay, so the
I'm
thing with
sorry,
Kuroko
I'm
is,
sorry, I didn't see it properly.
No, just a second. Just a second. So the thing is, Kuroko's gayness is like a different character, and there are two Kurokos that are just one's the protagonist and one's the gay one, and those are two different characters. Saten's gay just seeps into her entire character, and
Yes.
she never once is a different character in any scene. The same Saten that flips Uiharu's skirt is the same one having all these gay fantasies, and is also the same one that Uiharu would die for. Like, that's the same character.
Yeah, no, you're right. I feel a bit embarrassed.
I mean, I didn't like fully think about it. I was just like, no, she's gay. It was just instant, like, there's no question in my
I've
mind.
given this.
That-
I have
that's
given this
actually
so
why-
much thought.
Yeah, that's why when we were going through this, and you're like, okay, now let's talk about the maybes. And I was like, oh, well, Saten has to be the first thing that's in the maybes, because I don't know how she's even in the maybes.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she's on the same level as Junko, at least, in my opinion. Just because of the volume of stuff with her.
We need to get the screenshot of like Uiharu brooding over Saten. No, I can't. That'll take too long to get.
I can go find it.
Go find it, Lexi. I'll chuck it on the screen.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go look at the fucking manga chapter.
Yeah, basically. That's fine. Okay, so is there anybody else that people want to bring up before I bring up the other big one?
Yeah, actually, speaking of Saten, there's the anime-only eyebrow girl who was very gay-coded.
I don't remember her.
It's
I
the
remember
person
I
who
love the eyebrow girl.
yeah, she would like taser people and draw eyebrows on them because she has big eyebrows.
Yeah. Early Railgun was crazy, dude.
Yeah.
My suggestion would be Yomikawa.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, shit.
Totally forgot.
Shit.
How do
Yeah,
we
no,
keep doing
yeah.
this?
We suck.
Yeah, Yomikawa and Yoshikawa are like they're like Dolly and Kozaku Mitori, but like adults.
I have to say, I have a specific thing about this.
Gay
I remember
moms.
I was reading like some of the like official parody mangas for Toaru, and I swear to God, there's a page where they reference this ship, very
Wow.
specific, like. But I don't know what manga it was. I've been looking for it ever since. I don't know. But I swear to God, there's this moment where they just like very clearly treat these two as a couple.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, like Yomikawa is like very clearly the butch lesbian trope kind of,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
it's just that it was so obvious to me. I was like, no, that's is that what's about to be said? I don't know. So I had to question it. It's like
I'm a
no,
bit
it's
embarrassed
just
that we forgot to
obvious
mention. That just makes me think there's going to be others that we just completely forgot about.
But guess we'll have to do a part 2
Maybe. But
when it gets even more gay over the years.
But to stop stepping around eggshells, the big one I wanted to talk about was Axel. Hopefully people should have seen this coming because me and Lexi have talked a lot about this on YouTube.
Yep.
Our boy Accelerator. And like, you know, it's got to be said, most of the examples of gay characters in this story or queer characters are lesbians. It's overwhelmingly like lesbians. And here we have a character that, you know, obviously like, you know, born a male, but there's a lot of stuff going on here. You know, there's like the obvious feelings he has towards Toma. At least I think they're obvious. You know, it's basically been referenced by the story itself at this point that Accelerator has a thing for Toma. There was a point in NT22R where Cleaver literally teases Accelerator about his crush on Toma. It's great. The story acknowledges this. Accelerator is very much like he's always thinking about Toma. Toma is always on this dude's mind. It keeps coming up. Even in his own manga, there's a scene where he thinks about Toma. It's fucking great. Like, he's so gay coded. Like I don't know how anyone else like could see otherwise. I don't like really think he's shown any sort of like affection towards another woman except like Yomikawa and Yoshikawa, who are like, you know, his mums. Yeah, and like the sisters obviously, but like it's like they're his family. It's like people are gonna ship him with Last Order. We can't really avoid that. The fandom's gonna be the fandom, and I do think there are like maybe some like, you know, ways that are maybe not the text itself, but at the very least like, you know, like if stuff like, you know, paratext that is like alluded to this pairing, sure, but I can't see it as anything more than like, you know, a sibling relationship, or like there's definitely a deep connection they have because of all the trauma and shit. Like it's a very complicated relationship, but I just don't see it as romantic in any way. And I think like there are definitely moments where like Last Order has been a little bit like teasing of Accelerator, but like Accelerator has never really responded to it. Like I think that's like there's like that bath scene of Last Order and like trying to get a reaction out of Accelerator, and he just doesn't care. Shit like that. Like yeah, he's very much like the only person that I've seen him like express any sort of like romantic interest, like just fascination with, admiration, is Toma, and that just reads hella gay to me. But there's also the subtext of his gender as well. But yeah.
Well, I'd like to say something about the stuff you said first.
Sure.
First of all, with the Last Order thing, there's some lines where... Oh, also I posted the Uiharu thing. But with Last Order, it's like the type of thing where sometimes like daughters will tell their dads they're gonna marry them when they grow up. It's that. It's literally that. And also, I used to like the whole Toma Accelerator ship. I don't really like that anymore. I think I just read him as like completely asexual.
Really?
At this point, maybe not. I guess you could say he's not aromantic, which could be like the like. It could be that he's into Toma. I guess that would be like the middle ground. But like I genuinely just think he's asexual. Based like that's kind of the direction I've been leaning as of late. So yeah.
But you think
sorry.
Like surely you understand it as a valid reading.
Yeah, but I feel like it's the fandom kind of just like overvalues that way of looking at it when it's like could very easily just be again admiration for Toma, kind of like a bro crush more than an actual romantic crush. He just reads as very asexual to me. Maybe that's just what I've been thinking. I don't know.
Fair enough. I think you're going to say something, Lobo?
I was going to say, Toma definitely lives rent-free in Accelerator's head, but I don't know if I would attribute any sexuality to that at all.
Okay, you know what? Like, maybe that's, like, reaching a bit, but I think that's a valid reading. I do.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm not going to, like, hate on anyone for that or anything. It's just not my thing.
Fair enough. Mm-hmm. Then we got the shot of Uiharu there. But yeah, there's also, like, there's a lot of subtext going on with Accelerator. And, you know, there's, like, little mentions to him being, like, somewhat androgynous due to, fucking, I don't know, something about his, like, reflection power. Like,
not enough vitamin D.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know, it's fucking weird. But, yeah, he's been described as androgynous many times. In a way similar to Crowley. I definitely think there's, like, meant to be some parallels there. But yeah, I think like now would be a good time to start talking less about representation and more of like this like overarching queerness and subtext. But like I guess jumping around a bit here. obviously, like what we've been talking about here, like the straight male gaze is kind of inevitable with Toaru. There's going to be like, like I said, representations that might appear a bit problematic or just underdeveloped. And this could even go as far as queer baiting. Like this idea that you're kind of like teasing people with possible queer relationships to like get fans excited, but not really committing to them. I definitely think you could consider Accelerator X Toma as an example of this. And that's a bit of a shame. Like, queer baiting is uncool.
There's one big one. I don't know if anyone else is thinking it, but like there's one really obvious one when it comes to the queer baiting thing. And that's Shokuho and Misaka.
Yes,
in my opinion.
Absolutely.
However, I do love it, and I don't care if it's queer baiting. I just love it that much. It's my favorite ship in the series. I don't even care.
They need to get married already.
Absolute cinema.
I just don't view Mikoto as like bisexual or gay. I think she's very straight. But
she is. But
that
Shokuho could change that.
Damn.
Yeah.
I think Misaka's had enough like gay adjacent moments, honestly, to like. She just gives off that vibe to me really strongly.
But yeah,
I think Mikoto could be pretty easily bisexual, but is just very in love, and so she don't got time to think about that right now.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I do think it's important to acknowledge that like this is a story by a straight guy. There's gonna be like all this queer baiting and stuff, and there's gonna be arguments in the fandom over shipping and identities and stuff. And I do think it can get a bit reductive to just focus on all this stuff when, like, we could be just killing the author and just doing whatever the fuck we want. So, death of the author, Kamachi no longer matters. His creations have expanded beyond his control. We define our own destiny. We define what these characters mean to us. That's how I choose to roll with this series. But, like, there's also like just this kind of like vibe about Toaru as a series that just really appeals to my queer heart. There's something about it. Like I said before, it's like he's been digging through the minds of literary tropes, and he's stumbled upon a vein of something intangible that really connects with the queer experience and speaks to the universality of queer experiences. And I think that really comes down to this idea of the dark side and magic, like the underbelly of society. And that's really where you start getting into these themes that, speak to a queer experience. Because Kamachi, I think he is a very neurodivergent man. I think he's on the spectrum personally. That might be like me diagnosing, but I
would be shocked if he wasn't.
Yeah. This guy obviously has had his personal experience with probably stuff like bullying, like feeling like an outcast from society. And I think that does come out in his work. And these are themes that are, intrinsically tied to the queer experience. And you start getting characters like all the dark side characters of Academy City. Obviously, like Accelerator is one of the first ones we're introduced to, but it explodes out from there. Until we get like characters like Seike from Scavenger, who's just he dresses like a girl. Definitely genderqueer in some form. There's all these characters that have these bizarre character designs that just like go against, conventions of fashion or normality on the magic side and the science side, because like the magic side is basically the dark side of the real world. Like that's the underbelly of the real world. People who have, abandoned the path of normality and common sense and have chosen to embrace the weird, the exotic side of reality and start fucking shit up with magic. And just the character designs of all these magic side characters like speaks to that. Like it's all alternative fashion. Like this Kamachi loves his punk sort of vibes with his characters. Characters who rebel against the status quo and like find community through rebellion. Even shit like skill out. I was going to say anti-skill. Skill out. You know, level zeros that don't have any other place to, you know, exist in, you know, everyday life. They have to turn to crime and they have to form communities of like mutual support. You know, it's not like explicitly queer, but it speaks to the queer experience a hell of a lot. Does anyone else want to like talk about this a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Everyone does. Yay.
Yeah. It's like, go ahead, Lexi.
It's I do really like. There's even that kind of goes into something I want to talk about as well. Like, even when the characters are, like, there's nothing pointing in the story to the characters necessarily being queer. There's still like this kind of subversive vibe to a lot of them that goes with queerness a lot of the time, and that's almost definitely not intentional, but it's very easy to headcanon so many of these characters as some sort of queer person. Even easier than in a lot of other series, I feel like. For me at least. I don't necessarily love headcanon characters at all, but with this series, like, there's so many that I do feel this kind of strong headcanon for, and I would actually like to talk about some that we have after we're done with this segment. So yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's part of this segment, right? Because
maybe,
we're talking about like like death of the author, like what is gayer than Kamachi intended, but like and isn't at all in the text as gay, but like if you squint not even that hard, it's actually like, wow, that guy's gay. And the first one I would say is Tsuchimi Kado.
Sure, yeah.
Because like he flirts with both Toma and Accelerator. Like, that's a thing he just does. And like, yeah,
he's a fucking cat boy. He's a furry. Like, obviously, he's gay.
oh. Also, like, there's the that just reminded me of another blonde for some reason. I guess because of the flirting. Thor comes off as either gay, or he's like asexual, or he's like fight sexual. I would like to call him and Gunha fight sexual, if anything.
He is, yeah. I mean, like, you gotta like look at the you know, spiritual tradition there, of course, because Thor in Norse mythology is like, he has a story where he dresses up as a woman. Like, that's part of his story, and that is incorporated into Toaru because that's one of Thor's powers, is he can disguise himself as a woman. So like, there's already that little bit of like queer adjacent stuff there just going on with his basic character design. And he just looks super androgynous. Like, it almost feels like a subversion to the Marvel Thor. Like, let's throw all that fucking machismo garbage out the door. Let's give us a Thor that's a little bit more in touch with like his feminine side. I fucking love that so much. Great example. I'm sad I didn't bring him up.
I feel like there's some sort of like a common one. I feel like a fairly common one. People don't necessarily think of it though. Is Sherry and Ursula. I feel like they bounce off each other really well. And 100%. Ursula's buying Sherry like lewd clothes. Yeah, it's like I'd just generally love to see more of the two of them because I think they're such a good duo. They could make for a really good like body cop side story. I'm always saying this, and they definitely have like some sort of sexual thing.
I got one. Kumakara Seria.
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely.
She's
gay.
bi as fuck. She's bi. Yeah.
I haven't seen enough of her.
She has a thing with Shokuho that's like hella gay. IMO.
One that I think of occasionally, just because of like gender nonconformity and like possible queerness, is Vento.
Oh yeah, yep. I've seen like the Vento like butch lesbian interpretation before.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like it's interesting because like some of these church traditions end up going in a very sort of queer adjacent direction, partly because I guess nuns were gay historically. I feel like that might genuinely have something to do with it, but that's a very real thing. There's a weird amount of overlap with some of that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're going, I mean, that's not the only one of the four there who I would also put in that category. Aqua is kind of gay.
I was about to say, what's up with him and Knight Leader?
Aqua and Knight Leader, yeah. They got a thing.
Sure.
They fuck.
I feel like I still think he's the straightest out of that group.
Really?
In my opinion. Because he at least
there is
proof.
Okay.
There is proof of him being attracted to a woman, or like he has a thing with a woman. Terra is so gay, and like Fiamma's so gay, and Vento's like, yeah, at least asexual.
At least like
not lesbian.
He doesn't have gay fashion sense. I'll give him that.
Yeah, I mean, Fiamma's so fucking gay coded, like it's not even funny.
Fiamma is the fruitiest bitch.
He's pretty fucking fruity. Yeah.
Oh, and I feel like I should represent my home is back at home, with in the.
Wait, wasn't there a fucking
in Alex Court? Because like I gotta bring up Kakine from my man. Kakine is very gay coded in my opinion, and
You reckon? This is what I don't agree with.
I really don't see it as being anything concrete in the story.
No, I mean,
fuck it, it's a headcanon.
He's extremely fruity. He never shows any interest in women. He has a weird obsession with like Accelerator and Alistair. I don't know. It feels it's easier for me to believe that he's gay than that he's straight. Also, Kaibi is like, yeah. I think Kaibi's ace.
Kaibi's
by the way.
Ace,
Yeah. Anyone think of anyone else? There's so many of these.
I'm cooking. I'm thinking.
I mean, alongside Kakine, one that's fun to say for me, even though I don't particularly really believe it, is if Kakine were to be gay, then he'd totally be in a relationship with Banka.
Fuck. No, that's based. I had someone in mind.
I have someone in mind, but I'm like actually googling their name first because I don't want to say the one the person the yeah, like that.
Yumiya. Actually, both of the Rocco sisters are gay as fuck.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I see it. One thing me and my friends always joked about is an obviously headcanon. Trans Hamazura.
That's so based.
Hamazura is a trans guy. I can't justify it. It's just a vibe.
I mean, just a joke headcanon I have with my girlfriend, but I still do fully believe is that Takitsubo is a trans woman.
No, she has that vibe, and by the way, so does Uiharu. Uiharu gives off like massive trans woman.
I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that.
Okay, I looked.
She's even got the hacker thing going on. The stereotype.
Exactly.
That turns out to be very true for some reason.
It is true. I don't know why, but it is.
There's a lot of trans hackers out there. Trans girl hackers.
Sophie, did you say Congo earlier?
I didn't, but
or
sure.
Did I?
Sure.
Congo is so gay.
Yeah.
Congo, and also Awatsuki and Wanai, those two definitely.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
Then there's Connery from Judgment. She's like bi, definitely with her roommate, and also the milk guy, the leather jacket milk guy.
Yeah.
Fucking what's his name?
It's shit. I can't remember right now. But yeah.
Fuck.
Anyway, Mugino's gay as well. Like.
I see it.
She's got a lot going on.
Or she's asexual. Could be asexual.
I think she's very traumatized from relationships, but yeah.
Well, I guess I should get to my fucking absolute favorites. Maybe.
I do have one before you do that, if that's all right.
Go ahead.
This is one that I've been working on writing up for months at this point, like multiple over a year I think at this point, and I just haven't gotten it to where I want it to be. But I'm writing an entire video script based on headcanoning Mikoto as queer, specifically trans, and how that affects like the interpretation of OT3.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know what to think about that. I want to see this video now.
Yeah, no, I have a bunch of a script penned so far. But the biggest things I can think of are like struggles with identity, 100% with the clones, and that's not her biggest hiccup with trying to figure out how to live her life with the clones, but she finds seeing herself, but not herself, as being something to immediately think of as being creepy, as being uncomfortable, but she learns to accept that she will see these people that look like her but are not her. And I think that with some connection, it wouldn't be too difficult to view that as being an explicitly like queer, like trans self-identity sort
Interesting.
of belief.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I like it. Shinkoji Ruikayasu is pretty gay.
Oh yeah, sure. And,
Oh yeah.
Gay vibes. Gay
Well,
vibes.
I feel like you could say that for almost any Tokiwadai character. to be
I
fair.
know. We were just going down the list at this
Especially her.
point. Anyway, I'm just going through my list of
But
characters.
I guess I'll get to my fucking favorites.
Sure.
I feel like I was introduced to the idea of the Dark May Project girls being being trans mask, or partly because they have Accelerator's thought patterns. Now I know Kinohara has that whole thing about like worrying about her breast size or whatever, but like based on like I've had conversations with trans mask individuals, my friends, about this, and they've really turned me around on it, because that's something that like gender non-conforming, like assigned female at birth people go through, even though they end up like, even if they end up being like trans mask, they still, because they feel like they need to be like feminine.
Yeah.
Originally.
Okay,
So-
I like this.
So like, yeah, that's why it works with Kinohara. And Kuroyaru is one of my absolute favorite characters. I love drawing her.
Yeah.
I've drawn her multiple times. She's wonderful.
I know where this is going.
And she's like even the way she's just very androgynous.
Yeah.
She's like a little Accelerator in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And
She basically
I
has
like
a
her.
blowhigh.
I like her anyway, but I like her anyway. But
she has a blowhigh.
yeah, she does. I mean, you know, she could be trans mask or non-binary, whatever. I she just any of those representations I really like.
Yeah.
Or like and then there's Misaka Worst, who's another one of my absolute favorites. I like those when those two are together in the books a lot, by the way. And she could, I feel like she
Just look at this
she's
character.
she's so subversive that she reads as some sort of gender non-conforming as well.
Yeah.
Misaka Worst, yeah.
But fuck Kuroyura is like the most like genderqueer character design. Seriously.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's so good.
Shall I drop my favorite one now?
Sure.
Yeah.
Athenis. Trans woman.
I guess, yeah, could be.
Because, I mean, if you're looking at the lore that she's derived from, you were saying about the whole Thor and Frey thing, well, it's kind of in the reverse with her, isn't it?
Well, it could also just be that it got twisted over history.
It's kind of a Saber Fate thing, like.
I mean, it kind of is, but like we're talking about sort of our favorite headcanon-y things, right? Like,
Yeah,
if
sure,
you
No,
sure.
I respect
put
it.
this in-
I respect it.
Yeah.
But she,
And
I feel like
that's
she's
just
at
my
least.
favorite character, so I get to say, haha, trans woman.
Yeah,
Fuck it.
she would have to be bi, I think. Just even on a mythological basis, I feel like she's definitely bi, or like sapiosexual maybe, something like that.
I mean, she definitely doesn't. So she likes Toma, but it's definitely not because of any gender he possesses.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, a god like that is beyond any gender, I feel like.
Yeah.
like they could just take any form if they wanted to. Like,
Mhm. Toma is her favorite person forever.
yeah.
That's all.
And I want to circle back a little bit to Accelerator because there was more I wanted to say on this topic. Like, obviously,
Absolutely.
there's like the Toma ship, sure. But like another thing that I find really interesting about Accelerator is the subtext of his character journey in terms of identity. Like, the struggle of identity this character goes through is so much a focus of the story. It's so explicit, and then we get the culmination of like his initial character arc in World War III, where like he has this whole speech about how like he chooses to reject binaries and chooses to just exist as himself and love himself authentically without trying to exist in relationship to good or evil or magic or science. And as a non-binary person, I fucking relate to that so hard. I don't know if it was intentional, but the vibes are overwhelmingly strong. Like,
I think based on like the after like the notes that Kamachi always puts at like the afterword in the volumes, like I think he based on the way he talks about Accelerator, it feels like it's definitely intentional. It has to be intentional to some extent, which is interesting considering when that book came out. But that's the impression I get. And obviously, I made a whole video about this topic.
Shout out to that video.
It's fucking.
And I just know
like,
so many
very
like,
close to our hearts is what I'm saying.
I know so many like trans and gender non-conforming people that relate so deeply to Accelerator. I think like Kamachi really tapped into something there, whether it's like explicit like he's a queer character or not. His whole story is just a queer story. It just fits like a glove. It's like it feels undeniable when you're in that moment of just seeing it for that. But like, as someone who like just doesn't have that sort of experiential framework might just not see that at all. But to us, it's so obvious. It's wild. But yeah. And I know, like, we're talking about all this stuff, and I do think it all comes down to the inspiration that Kamachi drew upon to like make these stories. Obviously, I reference like neurodivergence as a possible vector there, but there's also like history and mythology, like, and magic is just so steeped in queerness. Like, you go back to like the witch hunts, for example, the most obvious example. Like, so many witches were just queer people or neurodivergent people that had just been like ostracized for society, and because they didn't fit the mold, they were deemed witches or warlocks or what have you. Like, so much of the history of magic and esoteric spirituality is steeped in people that feel rejected by society, and that goes hand in hand with queerness. Obviously, Crowley is another great example of this. Say what you will about the man and like his alleged crimes, he was still like a huge proponent of like feminism for the time and like queer, like queer liberation. Like, so much of like his work went on to inspire like the hippie movement, and like it's kind of crazy to think about all that, but like, yeah, we keep coming down to these cases where magic is like, and the occult is so steeped in the queer experience. Not always. There are definitely some like, people into the occult that are less queer than others. But I think like magic and the occult has always been like a form of gathering people that are ostracized from society, and that's obviously going to include a lot of queer people. Yeah, it's something I think deserves a bit more attention. And like, obviously, like, Kamachi has done so much research into all these different mythologies and histories of magic that he's inevitably going to start putting that in his work. It just kind of is a natural consequence.
I would like to, on that, like, kind of going off that, I think he's learned a lot about, like, well, not just queerness, but a bunch of, like, concepts. His writing has, okay, it's still dumb a lot of the time, but, like, as he's been able to tap into these things, he's kind of like even if it was kind of like by accident, I think he has genuinely learned about these things.
Yeah.
Partly because of that, and
Yeah.
I think that's improved. I mean, I think Operation Handcuffs is a fucking
Yeah.
masterwork
Yeah.
of like of just shows all the advancement, all the things he's learned about like oppression and like diversity. It's just like queerness even. And yeah, I mean the item light novels, like you definitely see like he like actually just straight up referencing lesbians. Like that was I think that's like one of the few times that that's happened, and that's pretty recent.
Yeah.
Where just directly lesbians, just says lesbians in it. So.
Yeah. And you know, our trans character, it's a step in the right direction. It's a small step, a weird step maybe, but he is learning. He is like I do feel like his writing is getting better and more like worldly with each thing he writes. And like
some of that is sorry.
Go on.
Some of that isn't even necessary. Like, to go back to the idea that Index is having the gay censored out of it a bit, it's possible that like he might have learned all of this all at once, and this is him slowly trying to push it in instead of it being a different thing. At least I want to hope that that's it, because that means that like he's had an epiphany and he's like 100% an ally now, but the publishers aren't letting him be, and so he's like slowly putting it in,
maybe
easing people into the idea.
Yeah, definitely possible.
I mean, he isn't the general understanding that he was very young when he started writing this. He might have changed a lot as a person, but like, it could be that the publishers and the editors are like, you gotta do the things that make the big bucks, you know, you gotta keep it up, and he might be even tired of like writing the same kind of like dumb shit at this point. We just don't know. You know,
it's impossible to know.
No, that's definitely something that I've thought about before, on whether specifically Kazuma Miki, his editor, has played a hand in a lot of the weird shit that's been in the series, because Miki was the guy who was behind the idea for Oreimo.
Wait, really?
He was behind a whole... Yeah, no, genuinely.
I didn't know that. What?
No, he came up with the idea for the main girl.
Oh, wow, that's a bombshell.
Yeah, no,
I'm not
and
surprised.
he's done a whole lot of other shit like that, and so I genuinely would not be surprised if,
is Miki
considering
the
just
editor
how
on Edo
hands-on
Manga
he's been.
Sensei?
I think
Sorry.
so.
Oh no.
Kazuma Miki. I'm just looking him up real quick.
Yeah, I'm
know,
really
dude.
good.
Is this the enemy? Have we found the enemy?
Yeah, no, this is what I've been. Yep. Manga Sensei.
No. Yeah, I think
we-
Audrey. I think I got this from Audrey originally. This whole thought that there might be like.
Oh yeah. Also, Sword Art Online.
Sort of, yeah.
That one, I don't blame Miki on that one.
And
industrial
and Irregular
tampering.
Magic High School.
Oh Christ.
And Shakugan no Shana and fucking Dokuro-chan.
Shana's
Well,
fine.
Dokuro-chan is like a amalgamation of different authors, right?
Yeah.
Like Nagaru Tanigawa worked on it, the author of Hari. There's a lot of people who worked on Bludgeoning Angel.
I don't see anything about that.
It was like an anthology, I think is the word. I'm not 100% on that.
Anyway, I don't want to like point fingers too much in this podcast, but it is possible. It is possible. But yeah, I do believe that Kamachi is growing as a person, as an author, with each thing he writes. I think like the political like implications of his writing have changed dramatically from what he started to now. I think the key example being you look at what's her face, the anti-skill officer that went from what's the name?
Tesso,
yeah.
Yeah, Tesso's dream.
Who went from being like the uwu cop to the fascist cop, basically.
Yeah.
It's insane that Kamachi decided to do that to his like his little scrunkly. But I think that's like really showing the growth of his own like internal reality.
He's been slipping in some like real world developments
Yeah.
In an
Correctly.
wasn't the like the elements or whatever the fuck elements arc, what do you want to call that, like the heat wave thing, wouldn't that have been coming out around the same time as when like we had like some of the worst heat waves in modern history? Wouldn't that have been written around that time, like some years ago? I feel like at least that's been ramping up.
I
Like
never
that's the
thought
thing
about
I've
that,
thought
but
about.
yeah, maybe.
And also I'm more confident on the Operation Handcuffs. Like,
Yeah.
didn't that come out after like the George Floyd
Yes.
protests
Yeah.
and stuff like that?
Absolutely. Yes.
So I'm not so sure on the global or the climate change thing, but that's a thought I at least had. So I think I do think he's at times been able to draw upon like real world stuff like that more directly, and I think that's also an interesting direction to go in.
And
It's kind of a side note, but like you
Yeah.
know,
No, I think it's less than a side note, because when you think about it in like the grand scheme of things, how many novels deep into this series are we? And he needs to keep coming up with new content. Well, the best, newest content is to just look at the world and see how the world is
Yeah.
changing. And then put that in your story. People will then relate to it because guess what? That's the world. That's what
Yeah.
we're living in right now.
Yeah, like Toaru as a series has always been built upon Kamachi's fascination with the real world through like culture and like history and like even like modern technology. Like he's always like trying to incorporate like his interest in science into Academy City, for example. And yeah, like and like more and more we're seeing like these little sub stories about the ways that capitalism is ruining Academy City and shit like that. But yeah, like, you know, this ties in with like how queer stuff is becoming more and more apparent in his writing. It's very slow and he still probably has a long way to go, but I vehemently believe that if we were to ever get like a trans character in Toaru, Toma would ally with them. I think most of the protagonists would be allies. I think like maybe you might get a scene of Toma being like apprehensive around a trans person because he's never met one before. I can see that happening. But he would punch people to defend their right to be trans. I have no doubts in my mind about that at all. Like it just yeah.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna cut in. This is not necessarily exactly related to what you're talking about right now, but one thing you said a bit ago made me think of the idea of the personal reality just in the series.
Yes.
And basically how Esper abilities are viewed as being changing the world to be how you see it.
Yeah.
And I really like that because it can be used as such a good metaphor for queerness and nonconformity and making the world see you for how you truly are.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to fit yourself into its boxes.
Yeah, there's so much potential there.
Even the magic side is like, because a lot of the time they're like taking stuff and twisting it to their own ends, and the whole magic name thing is also like changing the world to be more like what I want it to be. Like it's at the end of the day, it's the same thing in this sort of context, and it fits the whole queer thing similarly, in my opinion. Anyway, so.
Well, I mean, the whole point of Alistair is that there really isn't a divide between the two. It's just the method, not the like fundamentals.
Yep.
So yeah, they're both queer for sure in that way.
Except for Mathers, fuck him.
Except who?
Mathers, I bet he's homophobic.
Yeah.
Oh, Mathers, yeah.
I was looking it up. I was looking it up because I'm like, the unfortunate, does she have queer vibes? And then I looked it up. Apparently, apparently IRL, she was a homophobe.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. I was read her as queer in the series.
Yeah, I'll take out the unfortunate.
Yeah, she's one of my favorites actually, and that reminds me. I feel like Aureolus is Ace. I don't know what that reminded me of that, but I get that vibe from him. I don't know.
I'm trying to remember Anna Kingsford. I know she was like a big proponent of feminism, like one of the biggest proponents of her time. I wonder what she thought about queer people. I'm really curious now. But I guess, like, you gotta think, though, at the time, fucking no one was, like, talking about queer people, really. It just... Alistair was very loud about how queer he was, and he didn't fucking care who saw it. And that was very not normal. Like, he was seen as a fucking weirdo. And... God help us. That's our problematic fave right there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where Anna Kingsford fits on that. Let us know in the comments if you know more about Anna Kingsford. But I've just like, I did a little bit of research on Anna Kingsford, and she's fucking based as hell. She's like one of the coolest people I've ever heard of. I'm so glad she's a Toaru character. I don't know what she said about queer people, but I hope it's good. If anything. Anyway.
Even if there was something bad, like, even like there are a lot of different like historical figures who were just like a huge bigot, but like towards the end of their lives they were like, I'm sorry, I actually...
That's
like,
absolutely true.
I changed my mind.
Like Lovecraft.
Yeah. I mean, it could even be said for Dion Fortune. You never really know. Like, there's a lot of people that just say bigoted shit in that era because that is what everyone says, and yeah, it's really hard to, like, you know, have an accurate assessment of that kind of thing with given the time period. Anyway, this is a huge tangent.
Change.
People change. Yes.
I'll say one thing actually. I think it is unfortunate that the fandom is the way it is when it comes to like queer stuff.
Yeah.
Because it feels like this feels like such an obviously queer thing. But at the same time, like it
can feel like a very hostile fandom.
It is meant for like fucking straight adolescent men. So
yeah.
Hard to avoid, but yeah.
I'm sure this video is going to get someone finding it and being like, what the fuck are you people talking about? I'm sure, like, if it gets enough views. But yeah, I accept it. People are going to be people.
I mean, I'm the type of person nowadays that if I appear on anything, someone's going to get mad because I just don't like bigotry or pedophilia, and the fandom doesn't like that I don't like those things. So
yeah,
expect some comments maybe. I'm sorry.
I won't. No, I know what this fandom is like. I've been here for a while.
Yeah.
But I think we need content like this to, you know, really shed light on the fact that there is so much to love about this series as queer people, and like, it's not just a straight boys club. There's a lot more going on here.
Yeah, let's not give up. I guess that's
exactly.
Yeah. I'll throw in Biagio. He just gives up gay vibes, and I love that dumbass.
What? No.
Biagio,
he hates gay people.
No, I totally agree.
He fucking hates gay people. What are you talking about?
But he's so fruity. He's so fruity.
No, Biagio is the type of guy to hate gay people while being gay, like a Frollo situation.
Oh shit! Hey Archidove, I know you have no idea what we're talking about, but thank you for joining the stream. Yeah, we're basically wrapping up this podcast. But yeah, this fandom, it has a lot of issues. We have a lot of growing to do as a fandom. But yeah, we can't give up when it comes to like queer readings, because there are so many series like that we could do a lot worse with. And the fact that, you know, there might not be a lot of explicit queer representation in the Toaru series, the fact that there is such overwhelming queer subtext and vibes that we can pull from it isn't something we should be taking for granted. I think that's really cool. And it's something we should be shouting to the rooftops about, because there are going to be other people that are getting into Toaru that may be like queer as fuck, and they might not feel represented by like the majority of the fandom that don't talk about this stuff. I want to point them to videos like this to be like, no, we're here. We've been here from the start. Toaru is queer as fuck, and definitely offer. It doesn't fucking matter what Kamachi says.
And having like some spaces for queer Toaru fans is important. Like,
yeah.
I mean, there's your server, there's my server.
Yep.
We're both trying out there. I know there's some others. I don't know how good those are, that are technically accepting queer people. But like, I'm just saying there are definitely spaces.
Yeah.
for queer and like I don't know progressively minded Toaru fans too.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway, let's start wrapping things up.
Yeah.
Final shout outs. I mean, we've already shouted out your channel. Everyone check out Level Zero Lexi for on YouTube for more Toaru content. Check out LoboTheGhost on Twitter. I think that's how it's written, isn't it?
Yes, and Twitch and YouTube.
So I said Twitter. I meant Twitch. Twitch.
Technically, I'm on Twitter, theoretically.
I am Sophilodia, a non-binary VTuber. I like streaming games and shit, and occasionally podcasts like this. And Audrey FishEradicator, you exist.
I exist. I might have stuff up eventually, and if I do, then I will.
Do you want to plug your socials?
Not really.
Okay, all good.
none that I'm using right now are ones that I need to be super out there.
Fair enough. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining and tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you do have anything to add to the conversation, please leave a comment on the YouTube upload. If it's full of hate, I will probably ignore it. Otherwise,
Yep.
Be gay, do crime, and keep enjoying media, whether it's problematic or not. We fucking make our own meaning in this world. Fuck you all. Good night.
The end.